Hello, my name is Coach Chanae. Today, I'm here to talk to you about terms you might see on your test. But before we dive in, please don't forget to check us out on YouTube. You can also join our Facebook group, Academic Coaching for World Changers, or check us out on our website, academiccoachingforworldchangers.com. Remember, while you're on YouTube, we would appreciate if you like and subscribe. As we always say here at Academic Coaching for World Changers, it's a reading test. Stop pretending that answering thousands of practice questions is studying. It's not. To pass the test, you need to know the material. We believe that if you know the material, read the question, and use test taking strategies, you will be successful in passing your test. Answering those questions on practice test questions don't really help you. You don't know what they're going to ask you on the test. It's super important to know the information and apply what you have learned to each question. So today we'll be talking about the terms egosyntonic and egodystonic. Have you heard of these terms in regards to behavior? Well, the goal is by the end of this, you will have knowledge you can apply to the exam related to these concepts. We'll also go over a practice question so you can practice applying these terms to a test question to check your knowledge. You may have already picked up on a term used in both of these words, ego. When you think of the word ego, you should automatically be thinking about Freud, psychoanalysis. If this concept is unfamiliar to you, you definitely need to spend some time learning about the id, ego, and the superego, as well as everything that goes along with Freud. Remember, the ego is the bridge between conscious and unconscious thought. Again, if this term sounds foreign to you, please review information related to Freud. He will for sure be on your test. So, what we know, the ego is the bridge between conscious and unconscious thought. It mediates between the id's primal urges, acting on the pleasure principle, and the superego's moral constraint. The ego is based on the reality principle, using reason and common sense to make decisions. It balances the demands between the id and superego to allow a person to function. So let's go back to the two terms I mentioned earlier, egosynotic and egodystonic. These behaviors, let's talk about what they both mean. Egosynotic behavior aligns with the personal values and goals. These behaviors are in harmony and consistent with the person's self-image. When a person exhibits egosynotic behaviors, they do not feel guilty because there's no competing feelings. So let's talk about this word. When you think about egosynotic behaviors, think about what it's saying. Synotic. Synotic, you think of words that are same. You think of meaning in sync. Synotic, same, sync. I'm in sync. These words begin with S, and that is what they mean. Synotic is same, in sync. So we think about ego, those behaviors align with your personal values and goals. They're in harmony with your self image. On the other hand, ego-dystonic behaviors are thoughts that are perceived as intrusive and consistent with a person's values. Dystonic, dys, meaning opposite, distant. Ego-dystonic behaviors are intrusive and inconsistent with what you value. So let's do a practice question together to apply this knowledge. Your client, JJ, comes to you and is in obvious distress. He confesses to you that he has a serious gambling habit, which has cost him thousands of dollars and is wrecking his life and marriage. In tears, JJ confesses a desire to change. Which of the following terms best applies to gambling behaviors in this situation? A, ego-synodic, B, change factor, C, change agent, or D, ego-dystonic. So we think about the question, which term best applies to a gambling behavior? And if we think we know, we still have to go through each option A through D and rule them out. So let's start with ruling out what does not apply. We can rule out B and C, which are change factor and change agent. These are not applicable. So we are left with egosyntonic and egodystonic. Remember, JJ wants to change. He sees him gambling as a problem. So as we learned earlier, we remember that dys means opposite. So ego-dystonic behavior is opposite of your values. Ego-syntonic is not in sync with your overall psyche and results in stress, guilt, and anxiety. So as the question stated, you can tell JJ was in obvious distress, which is another clue leading us that he is not syntonic. He is not ego-syntonic with the gambling. So remember, the question is asking us which applies to the gambling behavior. We know that the answer cannot be ego-synotic because he's not feeling consistent. He is not feeling the same way as gambling. He is feeling a lot of guilt, anxiety, and so on. So if it was ego-synotic, gambling would have to be consistent with his personal values and goals. In this situation, it is not. So the correct answer would be ego-dystonic. So I hope that after listening to this and thinking about the practice question, you are more knowledgeable of ego-dystonic and ego-syntonic behaviors, synotic behaviors. If you need more practice with these terms or anything else related to your exam, please reach out to us. You can find us at drpam2020@gmail.com, or you can view our services at academiccoachingforworldchangers.com. Don't forget, you can also find free videos that we post on YouTube. And while you're there, remember to subscribe, and you'll receive new content as they come out. Remember, it's a reading test. You got this.